To work successfully with CSS, you need not only a good knowledge of which properties to apply, but also which selectors to choose. Let's start with a quick reminder of the basic selectors covered earlier in this course. Type or tag name selectors redefine the look of HTML tags. They consist of the tag name without the angle brackets. ID selectors target elements with the same ID, so they're mainly used to style a specific element or area of a page. The selector is the ID name preceded by a hash or pound sign. Class selectors target elements with the same class attribute, so they're normally used to style multiple elements in different parts of a page. The selector is the class name preceded by a dot or period. Pseudoclasses can be used to restyle elements based on the current state. For example, the link pseudoclass styles unvisited links. The name of the pseudoclass is preceded by a colon. Descendant selectors target elements nested inside others. The selector for the outer element comes first, followed by a space, then the selector for the nested elements. This example targets paragraphs inside an element with the ID sidebar. Now let's take a look at other useful selectors. Attribute selectors have been largely underused because they weren't supported by Internet Explorer 6, but they're extremely useful because they match elements based on the value of attributes in their opening HTML tag. IE6 now has such an insignificant market share in most countries, you should seriously consider using them. An attribute selector consists of the attribute name wrapped in a pair of square brackets. It's usually preceded by a type selector without any space before the opening bracket. When the attribute name is used on its own, it matches any value. So this example matches all image elements that have a useMap attribute. The value of the attribute is unimportant. To match an exact value, add an equals sign followed by the value. This matches a link that has index.html as the value of its href attribute. The match must be exact. For example, this won't match products/index.html. However, if you insert an asterisk before the equals sign, it will. This next example matches any href attribute that contains index. So it'll match products/index.html as well as index.php or any other file name extension. To match the beginning of an attribute's value, precede the equals sign with a caret or circumflex. This matches all links with an href attribute that begins with http://. In other words, all external links, except those that connect over a secure sockets layer. To match the end of an attribute's value, precede the equals sign with a $sign. This matches all links to PDF documents. Pseudoclasses apply styles dynamically without the need to add a class to the HTML tag. Earlier in the course we looked at pseudoclasses for styling links depending on their state. Structural pseudoclasses select elements depending on their position in the HTML structure. The first child pseudoclass applies styles to an element that's the first child of its parent. In other words, the first element nested inside another. For example, you could use li first child to apply special rules to the first item in an ordered or unordered list. The first of type pseudoclass is similar, but it applies to the first nested element of a particular type. It's useful in situations where first child won't work. For example, you can use it to target the first paragraph inside a div. If a heading comes before the paragraph, first child won't work, but first of type will. The last child and last of type pseudoclasses work the same way, except they apply to the last matching elements. The nth type pseudoclass takes a number or formula to target elements at a specific position in a series. All modern browsers support these structural pseudoclasses, but they're not supported by older versions of Internet Explorer. First child works in IE7 and later. The others require a minimum of IE9. This has been a whirlwind tour of the most common and useful CSS selectors. I don't expect you to learn them all at once. The main purpose has been to draw your attention to the rich toolbox that CSS puts at your disposal. Many beginners become stuck in a mindset that everything must be a class. Mastering a wider range of selectors will make styling and maintaining your web pages much easier.